This week brings a fascinating combination of energies. We begin with a new moon in Gemini, move through a series of Venus aspects that challenge our relationships, values, and desires, and arrive at an important milestone as Chiron enters Taurus for the first time. At the same time, we read the Torah portion of Korach, one of the most psychologically revealing portions in the entire Torah. Together, these influences invites us to examine a question that is both simple and profound. Am I living from my own truth, or am I reacting to someone else's path? The new moon in Gemini is a new conversation that begins on June 15th. Every new moon represents a beginning. It is a seed moment, a time when something new is quietly emerging beneath the surface before it becomes visible. Gemini is the sign of communication, perception, learning, curiosity, and the stories we tell ourselves about our lives. Many people assume reality creates our thoughts. In many cases, the opposite is also true. The way we interpret events often determines the reality we experience. Two people can go through the same situation and come away with entirely different conclusions. One sees rejection, the other one sees redirection. One sees failure, the other one sees a lesson. The event might be identical, the story is different. This new moon asks us to become aware of the stories running in the background of our mind. What narrative are you repeating about your work, about your relationships, about your health, about your future? Most importantly, is that story still true? Or is it simply familiar? Gemini reminds us that changing a story can sometimes change an entire direction. Venus and the dance between freedom, dreams, and power. The days following the new moon brings a series of significant Venus aspects. On June 16th, Venus forms a sextile with Uranus. This aspect encourages openness to change. Something unexpected might enter our lives. We might find ourselves attracted to new ideas, new people, or new possibilities. Uranus rarely asks permission. It simply shows us that another option exists. Sometimes that option feels exciting, sometimes it feels uncomfortable, but its purpose is to awaken us from our unconscious routines. On June 17th, Venus forms a trine with Neptune. This is one of the softer aspects of the week. Compassion increases, creativity flows more easily, our hearts become more sensitive to beauty, inspiration, spirituality, and love. The challenge with Neptune is that it can blur boundaries. It can inspire us to see the highest potential in others, but sometimes it also attempts us to ignore reality. Dreams are important, but dreams still need roots. Later, that same day, Venus opposes Pluto. This shifts the atmosphere considerably. Pluto asks difficult questions. Where are we attached? Where are we trying to control outcomes? Where do fear and desire become entangled? This aspect can bring powerful emotions to the surface: jealousy, possessiveness, power struggle, or simply the realization that something must transform. When Venus and Pluto meet, relationships often mirror. They reveal what we truly value and where we still need healing. Taking together these Venus aspects, to just a week of examining what we love, what we want, and why we want it. When Chiron enters Taurus, healing our relationships becomes truly worth it. One of the most important shifts of the week occurs when Chiron enters Taurus on June 19th. This is only the first chapter of a longer story. Chiron will return briefly to Aries later in the year before eventually settling into Taurus for a much longer period of time. Nevertheless, this first entrance gives us a preview of the healing theme ahead. In mythology, Chiron represented the wounded healer. The place where we carry a wound often becomes the place where we develop wisdom. Taurus governs value, security, resources, the body, the earth beneath our feet, and perhaps most importantly, self worth. Many people spend years trying to prove their value, trying to earn it, trying to justify it, trying to convince others to recognize it. Chiron in Taurus asks a different question. What if your value existed before anyone approved of it? What if your worth did not need to be negotiated? This transit begins a collective healing process around our relationship with abundance, security, and self respect, not through force, not through achievement alone, but through learning to stand firmly on our own ground. This week's Torah portion, Korach, brings themes into sharp focus. Korach challenges Moses and Aaron. His argument appears reasonable on the surface. He declares that the entire community is holy. Why then should Moses and Aaron occupy positions of leadership? The words sound noble, yet the Torah reveals that something deeper is operating beneath the argument. Korach was not fighting for purpose, he was fighting against his own place. The sages often teach that his mistake was not ambition itself, his mistake was comparison. Instead of developing the role he had been given, he became consumed by the role that belonged to someone else. This is one of the most common traps human beings encounter. We stop building our own path because we become fascinated with another person's path. We stop honoring our own gifts because we become focused on someone else's gift. We stop listening to our own calling because we become distracted by someone else's calling. The result is frustration, resentment, and eventually disconnection from our own purpose. Korah reminds us that every soul has a place, every soul has an assignment, every soul has a unique contribution. The challenge is not becoming someone else, the challenge is becoming fully ourselves. As this new moon begins a new cycle, take a moment to ask yourself, what story am I ready to release? Where am I comparing myself to someone else's journey? What would change if I fully honor the place that has been given to me? This week invites us to speak more consciously, love more honestly, and stand more firmly in our own value. The new moon plants the seed. Venus reveals the heart. Chiron opens the healing. And Korah reminds us that peace often begins when we stop fighting for someone else's place and start fully inhabiting our own. Have a beautiful week ahead.